Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. It's G here. I don't know about you, but it's been super triggering to hear all of the news about women being assaulted, murdered across the world. And the thing that it goes to prove to us is that it is actually all men. Guys, subscribe to my channel and let's have a little chat.
What is Kamala Harris's plan for enforcing background checks on men who try to buy podcast mics? Because we really need to start taking control of this situation.
The past couple weeks, men across the world have lost their collective fucking minds. If you have not heard, there was a woman in Kenya who just competed in the Paris Olympics, went back home, was set ablaze by her boyfriend, and she died. He later died because he came back to try and put more gasoline on her, and the flames went over to him. And so he ended up killing himself as well. That was not his intent. He just wanted to kill her. Then there was also the man in France who basically had over 100 men sexually assault his wife. Over 100 men. Now, there were men who actually came, saw the situation, was like, no, I'm not going to participate in this. But you know what they didn't do? They did not report him to authorities. They allowed that to continue. About 3 out of 10 men said, nah, it's not for me. But they still did not report what was happening to the authorities. They let that man continue to assault women. And this is why it is all men. A man in Switzerland killed his wife and then dismembered her and tried to puree her in a blender because she wanted to leave him. The woman in France had been with her husband since she was married to her husband, since she was 18 years old. Since she was 18 years old, she was the only man that she thought she had ever been with. Which goes to tell you that if a gynecologist can't tell body count, neither can a man's penis. Because she was having all kinds of vaginal issues, went to the doctor, could not figure out why. She's only thinking she's only had relationship with one man. This man had been drugging her for over a decade. He also was sexually assaulting her, doing things to her when he had her unconscious that he knew she would not agree to if she were conscious. The reason that is absolutely all men is that men allow this to go on and they stay complacent because they don't do anything about it. I don't hear any men across the atmosphere of the internet talking to men about these kind of things in the way that, what the fuck, bro? How is this happening, right? We are seeing that men are constantly playing to other men. The thing with Shay accidentally went on live when he was having relations with someone, has been constantly accused of being homosexual. And well, now people are just like, oh, well, Unc gets it in, right? Because they're assuming it was with the woman. And he is reclaiming some power and manhood in the fact that this now shows other men how manly he is, right? This is what's important to men. The approval of other men. They are not trying to collectively make sure that men do not do this to women. The press on the thing with the woman who was assaulted by her husband, who allowed men to sexually assault her for over a decade, the press are painting her as vindictive because she decided not to be anonymous because she wanted all of these men to be exposed. And the press is painting her as though she is a vindictive woman because why would she want to hurt all of these men publicly? We are taught to protect them more than they are taught to protect us. And the fact that most women will say when women come on and we talk about assaults of men and behavior of the patriarchy and how so many men refuse to deconstruct the internalized misogyny or misogynoir that they have, there are plenty of women coming to the defense of men. It's not all of them. Yes, it is, because almost all of them will be complacent. They will be complacent in a woman's harm across the world. A lot of times when women travel and they go out and they date when they're traveling, there is a huge assumption that men in other countries are safer. And I really want women to understand that is not the case. Some of us get lucky. Some of us find people who are not complete assholes, but it's not that they have completely deconstructed every aspect of what patriarchy has done to them in respect to how they see and feel about women. So that is too why it is all men. You might have someone who is cool and everything, but there are probably things that you as a woman have to acquiesce because you recognize, okay, he's a man. There's the incompetence aspect of him. It's the insensitive aspect of him. It's the brutal nature of him. I had I've mentioned that I've grown up in a situation where my mother was physically abused, and there were men around us in my family who knew shit was not right in our house, and they never helped. They never did anything to make sure everyone was okay. When I was talking to some family members while I was in the States this summer, they always said, you know, we didn't feel certain things were right, the way your mom treated you and isolated you and blah, blah, blah. But nobody came and got me. Nobody said, hey, let me come and take the kids out, or let none of the men did anything. Even if they recognize that something might not be right, they let it be. So this is how it is all men, because there doesn't seem to be that many men who are willing to do the extra work and step outside of what is expected of them to do more. That is 1 in 5 million that will actually step outside of what they see manhood as and have been groomed to believe manhood is, and how women should fit in their lives. Because when I talk to men, and often I don't say anything, I like to listen, because they reveal themselves and they don't realize what they've revealed, because they are so ingrained into believing that they have certain rights as men. And because they have these rights, women should do this way. And you find this a lot of conversation when you talk about traditional women, or women who have low body counts, almost virginic. Like, the idea of virginity is also something ridiculous. But the reason these men are this way is because this is where they feel like they have the power, right? Men like traditional wives and women because it makes them feel king and godlike. And that is something that society and patriarchy has told them is their birthright. And they don't know how to admit that. But when you listen to them and they start talking about, you know, how they want to feel and what makes them feel good and da da da, it's just that. It's a little bit of worship that they're into. And if that's your kink, but, you know, it's because society has groomed them to be this way. And they will often look at the women like, oh, well, what did she do to deserve it? Well, she should have been, you know, willing to do things that her husband wanted to do if she was his wife. The men who sexually assaulted that woman, the over 100 men who actually sexually assaulted her, was like, well, we thought his consent was enough for everyone. I believe they believe that. That's in France. So we see the same attitudes in men globally. It's not just the ones in the US who are completely off their rockers. They're all revolting against women because nobody has really taught men to love women. They've taught what women can do to serve them, and that's about it. When we talk about, you know, relationships and everything like this, a lot of men are like, well, you know, when my grandma and my great grandma was, you know, married to my great granddaddy, he had 16 kids outside of their marriage and she never left. She couldn't go anywhere. She couldn't do anything. And that's what they like. They like the idea that women have to be or have to deal with them in whatever capacity that they want that woman to deal with. They were never taught to love us. And there were, you know, love stories or whatever, but they were never, those are rare. I feel like love stories are far rarer than we realize. And we want to believe, because society has groomed us, especially as women, to believe in love and conquering all and being the right girl will get you the right man and all of these sort of things. This woman, essayed by her husband, was married at 18 years old. Like high school, childhood, sweethearts, blah, low body count. He changed that for her. They do not at all care about what happens to women. And that's why so many men can vote for their own interests over anybody else's. Because when we see it in our politics, we see it in our lives, they ignore the fact that this is happening to women, and it could be someone close to them. They can justify it and pretend that it is not happening. And this is why, and you might not even know all of the situations that they've ignored. They call the guys who they know have sexually assaulted women or done, crazy things to women, good guys. Because that girl, you know what? She was a little this or that, or she deserves something. She deserves a retaliation because she did something that challenged his masculinity or challenged his manhood or challenged him. Then women are deserving of your worst behavior. Yeah. So I have been back home now and trying to get readjusted to city life. But guys, it's been triggering to see this, and triggering to see how many men are complacent in women being terrorized in a global sense. So I look forward to hearing your comments and chatting with you guys. So ciao for now.